truth tables in symbolic logic. And this may seem like a philosophy course, but it is a math course on logic. And symbolic logic is important. It's concerned only with declarative sentences. So now it looks like we're mixing language arts. We're going to be using these letters. We're going to be using P, we're going to be using Q, and we're going to be using R. And I'll explain that. So let's say we gave you this statement. Here's a statement: the animal is a cat. Now it's either, or either, whatever you want to use, it's either going to be a cat or it's not going to be a cat. Right? That's it. It's either true or it's false. So that's one thing we want to know about these truth tables, whether it's true or whether it's false. So we can say P, which is using P to say that the animal is a cat. P is the animal is a cat. Now we're going to use a term called negation. So let me bring this up. Negation means the opposite. In this case, negation will be the animal is not a cat. That's the negation. So the negation symbol would look like this. There it is. That's the negation. So if I said the animal is a cat, the negation is the animal is not a cat. Seems simple right now. Now let's create a truth table based on that. So we're going to have P for our statement and its opposite statement. Right? And that's not the symbol, it's more like that, right? In fact, let's just do it over. Let's just bring this up here. P, negation for not P. Right? So again, we're saying the animal is a cat. That's our declarative statement. So if it's true, then the negation would be false. Right? You can't say that the animal is a cat and at the same time not being a cat. And I'll explain that in a minute. And so again, if the statement is false, then the negation has to be true. So what we demonstrated here in this truth table is the law of contradiction. This goes back a long time to the ancient Greeks and probably before that, Aristotle and Plato. Again, it makes sense. So the cat, like we said, the cat can't be a cat and not a cat at the same time. Now, there was a philosopher called Heraclitus who actually did not agree with this statement, but that's for another time. So again, the law of contradiction. You can't be the same thing, right? You can't be something and not something. That's the law of contradiction. So let's create another truth table. Let's erase this. Again, you don't have to use P. You can use Q and you can use R. So let's use P again here. Let's just use P. Let's say P, and let's say the statement is that apples are good for you. Right? Apples are good for you. Now it's either true or it's false. Right? We're not saying either one. We're just saying that's the statement. So its negation would be what? Apples are not good for you. That's its negation. So let's make a truth table based on that. Right? So here's our table. Bring this down so we can see it. The statement was P and not P. So if apples are good for you, if it's true, then of course the law of contradiction says, then there we go. The other one has to be false. They can't be good for you and not good for you at the same time. And the same thing, if it's false, then the negation has to be true. Look, we can also use Q. Let's say Q says, limes are sweet. Limes are sweet. So Again, they could be sweet, right? But for the most case, limes are sour, but we don't care about that. We're just looking at the statement itself. Limes are sweet. So again, we make our truth statement, truth table. This time we're using Q, right? Usually Q, P, or R. And we'll use more of them together in other videos when we explore more of logic. So if Q is true, then the law of contradiction states that its opposite must be false. And if it's false, which we're assuming it is, then its opposite will be true. So that's just the beginning of truth tables and logic. Right? In our next video, we'll talk about connectives and explore this a little further.